Hey there guys, I'm SonicGhost and welcome to a bonus episode of Let's Play Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland. Starting off, we're taking a look at the extra mode that you unlock for getting 100% in the main game, and we're taking a look at the extra mode here in Kirby's Adventure, because this gives me an excuse to go ahead and take a look at this version of the game. The major difference between the Game Boy Advance and the NES version of Kirby's Nightmare in Dreamland, or Kirby's Adventure in this case, is its graphics. The NES wasn't as powerful as the GBA for graphics, so a lot of the cosmetic things you'll see with Kirby when he has his abilities, like a hat or maybe being a different color, not present in this version. But this is essentially the exact same game, so with extra mode, we have only 3 hits, so we had to be extremely careful this time around because 3 hits and we're dead. That's half the health that you have in the normal game. Now, extra mode really isn't all that difficult in terms of just level design now because it's the exact same, but it's just you only have 3 hits, so you can't be as careless, and because of that, a lot of stuff just made harder only because you have 3 hits and that is it. And in all honesty, if I'm going back to play this game, I'm playing through it with the normal mode and not really bothering with extra mode all too often, just because, nothing really has changed besides your health. But while we're here at the NES version, I'm going to go ahead and just show off one little glitch that's actually an Easter egg as well. And it was a limitation of the NES version that allows you to do this. So, you see that warp star over there? We're going to go ahead and off-screen it. Just have it get off screen just a tiny bit where you can't see it anymore. Then it just disappears. So because of that, you can run past where that star would be. And would you look at that? How? This is the Easter egg of the game. This is only possible in the NES version. Apparently this was still in the coding for the GBA version, but my research has just brought up really no way to get into it legitimately. The only way apparently you can get to the HAL room in the GBA version is using cheat codes. You can only use action replay codes, and I haven't even gotten those to work. But once you beat extra mode, no matter which version you're playing, you get 100% complete, and this is the screen that you get in the GBA version. So that's extra mode for you. Now let's take a look at the 3 mini games that you have here in the NES version. Starting off here, we're looking at Crane Fever. Essentially, it's just a crane game. You want to go ahead and grab yourself a Kirby. The bigger Kirby does give you more lives, but I usually say if you're going to go for this mini game, just grab the small Kirbys if you can. Getting the big Kirby, really difficult to do. Getting any Kirbys in this game is really difficult. Luckily, they give you more than one shot, so you can try again, but it's really, really hard to keep a grip on these things and you have no control of it whatsoever. Once you grab, that's it. All you do is just press the A button to stop the crane and have a grab. That's it. Pretty hard minigame in my opinion to get some lives, but I don't go back to the NES version much, so I don't really have timing for that. Now we have Quick Draw, very similar to the game in the GBA version. Just the biggest difference here is we're in a Western setting. But the same rule applies. Wait until the game says fire, press the A button, and the faster the reaction time, the better. Although the enemies you do fight in this mode can get kind of ridiculous, like the one we just fought, that chicken-like enemy. That's pretty funny. Then we have this thing, which I'm not even sure what it is. It's hard to tell. But apparently it had better reaction time than I do. But you do get points though in this version if you don't beat the game, so if you're going for points, then there you go. Otherwise, same thing as the GBA version. Now the last game, Egg Catcher. Essentially in this game, you have to collect as many eggs as you can, because the more eggs you collect, the more lives you can get. This is very similar to a Game & Watch game actually, because I have one of the Game & Watch collections on the GBA, and this game is very similar. You do not want to eat a bomb, because if you hit a bomb at all, that's game over. I got 1 life out of that, so that's something. But we're done looking at the NES version. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the boss endurance mode. The bosses are back. Kirby must face all 8 bosses one at a time. Why? Who are you fighting for? Oh Kirby, what will you do? So essentially here in boss rush mode, you just have to fight all the bosses once again. beating the game with 100% normally will have this mode be unlocked. So this is a successful attempt that took me oh so long. And this is actually one of the reasons why this bonus episode took so long to put together. And I do really want to apologize for that, because this right here was one thing that just made me dread coming back to this project. It is such a pain. It seriously is, because in this mode, you have 1 life, 6 hits, and you have to go through every single boss fight in the game. This is not fun at all. After your 50th attempt, I'm not kidding, it took that many attempts for this just to get one successful run. Most of the time I would get to like the last 2 bosses or so and then just die because I just don't have enough health. That's the biggest problem with this mode. You only have 1 shot with 6 units of damage you can take, so it's really easy to die either right away or just, if you're not going to die right away, you're going to die pretty much right at the end. But this is pretty much all it is, just fighting all the bosses yet again. I just felt like leaving this in because this was my successful attempt at this, and I haven't really gotten a successful run of the boss rush. Actually, I don't even know if I did. I might have done this once when I was a kid, but I don't remember if I even beat this mode while I was a kid. I probably got pretty far, but I don't remember if I actually beaten it. Maybe? But I don't think I did. So if that's true, then this was my first time actually beating the boss rush mode this game. But the powers that I've been using here are usually the best powers to use. Getting Spark would be better to use in the beginning than Parasol, and I was actually hoping for it, but unfortunately the game wasn't nice enough to give me that. It did give me Ball though, which at first was really useful, but then the problem with Ball is you just take so many hits when you get too close to the enemies. And I'm not really that good with Ball, so every single time I would try to attack someone, I would get hit back, so I wouldn't last all that long in this mode. I would die very, very soon. But now we only have 1 more boss before we fight Nightmare again. And I did lose this boss quite a number of times trying to beat this mode. Simply because this is the end, I'm very, very close to beating it. And at this point in the game, my heart's just racing because I don't want to lose. I'm so close to the finish. And I just haven't really fought King Deity using the sword while not really caring about being too careless or not. That's the biggest problem here, because in the main game, if I be too careless here and leave with maybe 1 unit of health left, it wouldn't matter. Because right after the boss fight in the main game, my health would refill. Here, it stays at 2 units. So I had to be extremely careful now for the last bit. Luckily though, after going through this so many times, I learned a much better pattern actually for Nightmare here in the end. And once we get to Nightmare's second form, I'll be able to show it off. Spaceship shooting portion of the fight is the exact same. All you have to do is just avoid the stars as much as you can. Sometimes it's either unavoidable if you're too close to him, or it's just you will be dumb like I was and run into one of the stars when they're too close to you. And it's really, really nerve-wracking when you get to the very end of this mode and you only have 1 unit of health left, because you're so close to the end, you're almost there, but you have 1 unit of health. So if you take a single hit, no matter what it is, game over. You have to do this all over again. So you would not believe how nervous I was getting to this part of the game and realizing I only have 1 unit of health left. This is going to be painful if I die. Luckily, that wasn't the case. So in Nightmare here, the biggest strategy I have is just hide in the corner. Just stay there. And Nightmare just won't hit you. Simple as that. I think the only attacks that can hit you is the stars that he shoots out, and when he does his little pile driving move. Those are the only 2 that I know of that can actually attack you in this corner, because all the other things that he does, flying around, charging at you, it's not really a big deal because he won't hit you in this space. So I just recommend staying here and waiting it out. Just wait for the openings. As you see, he's trying to swoop me up right now, but he missed completely because I'm out of his range. And that's the problem with using the star attack sometimes when he's just floating up in the air like that, shooting stars down. Sometimes it will just bounce off his body and your shot just won't count. It's really, really annoying. But just one more hit and Nightmare will be down. But the problem here is he's just not leaving himself open, and when he will, it's going to be in a bad place probably. Like right here. My shot would have hit him, but I think it hit his finger first and it just bounced off. And here, he just teleported away too fast. So, it's not easy. Not at all. Well, there we go. Nightmare's down and beat the mode in 5 minutes and 34 seconds. It does clock you, so if you ever decide to go through this mode again, you can see if you beat your best time. Although it doesn't save the times, so this is something that you would write down. But there we go, you're the champion. Something I'm probably not going to be going to that much ever again after beating it. But let's take a look at the sound test here. Sound test is exactly what you would think it is. It's the mode that you can play all different sound effects as well as the different music clips in the game. And there are a lot of music and sound clips that you can go through here, so if you really want to, this could be a good way to listen to the entire game soundtrack if you just didn't want to pull up a rip of it online or just get the soundtrack yourself. But we have one last thing to look at, Meta Nightmare. Meta Knight has set out to practice his swordplay. Use his blade to clear the way. You cannot save in this mode, so you have to do this in one sitting. So Meta Nightmare here unlocks after you get 100% in the extra mode. So this is what you get after all that hard work going through the game again with 100%. In all honesty, I really don't like Meta Nightmare mode after playing it again. The biggest problem I have with Meta Nightmare mode is the levels just aren't built for Meta Knight. Meta Knight is essentially a sword Kirby just with some more moves. And the problem is, he can't do everything that Kirby can because, well, for example, he doesn't have the copy ability, so I can't use other abilities, say like Parasol, for example, to be careful in certain areas and just block projectiles or float. And I can't use things like Hammer or Fire, for example, so in replacement of that, they put the Hammer as well as the Fire attributes into the sword, so when you get to those puzzles later on that you need Fire or Hammer in order to get to a cannon, or just a switch in general, that's how you would do it. But Meta Knight here does fight all the same bosses since you're always using sword. A lot of these bosses just go down no problem. For example, Wispy doesn't even put up a fight, which is not surprising. And you do have to fight Meta Knight's mooks here, so the exact same stuff you would go through with Kirby, you would do here in Meta Knight as well. Although it makes no sense to see Meta Knight fighting his own mooks, and Meta Knight being the one calling the mooks. It's a little weird in all honesty. But yeah, pretty much you're just going through the game again in extra mode, now just with a permanent sword Kirby. In fact, all the same sound effects that Meta Knight has when getting hit is the exact same as Kirby. They didn't change them at all. Here's an example of Meta Knight having the fire attribute to the sword. All you have to do is just slice on the rope there to go ahead and activate it just like you would fire, and there you go. That's all you gotta do. You can't access any of the mini-games here in the Meta Knight mode, so if you want to play mini-games, for example, to grind lives, you can't do that. And it's really easy to die in this mode because you're playing with extra mode health. So, that's a problem. And oh, you gotta be kidding. Well, didn't see that coming. That's why you shouldn't have Meta Knight fight himself, or anyone fight themselves for that matter. You don't know what's gonna happen. In this case, a planet exploded. Yeah, just don't do that. Just don't. But there you go, that's Meta Nightmare mode right there in a nutshell. Beat it in 58 minutes flat. Very surprised I got 58 minutes flat on that. That's something I normally wouldn't get, a flat time. But that was Meta Nightmare mode and every other thing I wanted to show off in Nightmare in Dreamland, so the best way to end this is just to look at the extra mode credits. These are the credits that you get beating the game on extra mode, not the credits that you get from Meta Nightmare. Meta Nightmare has no credits whatsoever. So yeah, in general, Meta Nightmare mode is a good challenge, and another way for you to go through the entire game, collecting 100%, with the extra mode health, mind you, if you wanted to time yourself. Personally, I'm not really that fond of Meta Nightmare mode because a lot of levels just aren't really designed for Meta Knight. They're more designed for Kirby and his many different special abilities. Meta Knight is really just Sword Kirby. And while it's nice to have a sword all the time, some levels aren't built for it. And you're gonna run into some issues because of that. I actually died, I think about 2 or 3 times in one level because it would have been so much easier if I had Parasol. But I didn't. So I couldn't really float my way down past hazards. I just had to tank it and hope I dodged. In the end, Meta Nightmare Mode is just an extra challenge just because of the abilities that you used to have as Kirby are no longer accessible. That's my biggest complaint with the mode. If those hazards were fixed up a bit for Meta Knight, then it would have been no problem, but because you still had to use those special abilities just to avoid taking so much damage with Meta Knight, I just felt like that was a very missed opportunity and just makes the mode a lot more challenging than it should be. But that's all the stuff I really wanted to show in Nightmare in Dreamland. There is the multiplayer, but, well, for one, I can't really show that off right now because I have no way of really recording that. I don't really have anyone else to play the game with right now and record the footage with. But really, it's just the same thing as playing through the game normally, it's just you have friends to play with, so if you play Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, it works very similarly to that. But that's pretty much everything that I need to cover for now in Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland. If I ever can record multiplayer footage of this game one day, then I'll come back and look at that. But otherwise, we're done with this game for now, and I'm going to move on to some new projects. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.